Hey, podcast junkies, welcome to the Get Started Podcasting channel. This is a one take, all right? I haven't even hit stop on this video, but we'll get into that later, and it'll be a perfect example of some of the things you're gonna run into when you start your podcast. Nobody cares about intros anymore, so we'll just get right into it, guys. My name's Robert Garza. I go by Producer Rob, and you can find me across the internet at RobGTV. In today's video, we're going to talk about two of the main reasons that have really kind of stood the test of time for as long as podcasts have been pretty popular. They're reaching this really huge peak and are still going up and up as far as listenership and enthusiasm for them, whether it's listening to them or starting one. But there's two main things that have always been at the forefront of people's minds who want to start a podcast. And you're probably watching this and this will resonate with you. Number one is going to have to be to share their expertise or passion with others. Many people start podcasts to share their knowledge or experiences on a particular topic with a wider audience. This could be a hobby, a career, or something they are deeply interested in. Now, for me personally, that was somewhat of what it was, but like many people 10 years ago, I'm hitting that 10-year mark, or I've hit that 10-year mark. Am I an outlier? Does Malcolm Gladwell's outliers apply to me at this point? Probably, right, with the amount of hours put into it. But the passions at the time, still kind of, similar today, are all over the place. Fitness, guns, beards, music, muscle cars, whatever, right? Whatever you're into. A lot of people I want to start a podcast and talk about all those things. I want to be a Rogan, right? Everybody always uses Rogan as an example. And don't get me wrong, I love JRE, but place and time, right? Set and setting kind of thing. And he started at a time where he could talk about all those things and still does. And he's garnered this audience of people that just love him when he talks about aliens and ayahuasca and whatever else. I'm one of those people still from the beginning, from '09. He started in '09, but I started listening probably 2 months later, January, February of 2010 or something like that. But regardless, if you're passionate about something now, and you've probably seen 100 videos about this, you've got to go deep on that particular thing, right? I've been fortunate to be part of a lot of podcasts. I'm a part of some right now, production, co-hosting, editing on the back end, all kinds of stuff. And you can find your place in the world of podcasting, but if you want to be the host, you want to be number one, there's nothing wrong with that. You might find yourself being a good number two, second chair, maybe a producer, maybe an editor or whatever. But if you just really want to be a part of it, you've got to be able to take those passions and really niche it down. And it sounds like it's been overused and overplayed, but the riches are in the niches. If you're a marketer or an entrepreneur, that'll resonate with you. And that doesn't mean that you can't eventually use the other things that you're interested in as a part of your podcast and as a part of giving people reasons to listen to your podcast, but you've got to really start with that one particular thing. And it sounds weird, but the conversing and the one-on-ones, the interview style things, I've always been fascinated with that stuff. And it wasn't until now, 10 years later, that I can say that as much as, and we'll get into the monetizing and the money and the audience and the growth and maybe some fame you might garner from it, all that stuff's great, but if you came from a small town, and I'll use my personal experience, and maybe hopefully a lot of you will resonate with this, you don't have a lot of people around you. If you grow up in small town USA, and you've got these crazy cool ideas, and maybe you just kind of sit outside and look at the stars and you're wondering about things, 10, 12 years ago, you didn't have a lot of people to kind of ping and pong those ideas off of. And then all of a sudden you find this podcast and this host and co-host, a show, this community of people that are talking about the things you're interested in, and you want to be that kind of a person for something. Pick that something, right? Go really deep on one particular thing and be the voice for maybe someone who right now is around a community or an environment where they don't have anyone else to ping and pong these ideas and passions off of. So that's one. And I'll expand on a lot of these things in later videos. So subscribe to the channel if you're interested in hearing about those things and finding your motivation for starting a podcast. But like most things too, I will say that motivation gets you started, but it's the discipline that's going to keep you going. To do a podcast or to be a part of podcasts and podcasting for 10 years, you're going to find a lot of ups and downs. It seems like there's always an up and a down. Everything's a roller coaster, such as life, right? But when you hit a plateau or a spike in listeners, it obviously elicits different feelings within you. When you're doing it for 6 months, and you see this steady trajectory going up, and then all of a sudden it plateaus for the next 6 months. You're like, well, I finished out the year pretty strong. I started a podcast. I got a little audience. It didn't really grow, but I still feel like it's got potential. And then year 2 comes around, and you see a ginormous spike, and you're gung-ho about it, and you go hard, and then you hit another plateau, or it even dips a bit. It's all seasonal, right? And we'll get into that stuff later. So I'll give you the second reason why people start a podcast, and that's to build an online platform. Podcasting can be a great way to establish oneself as a thought leader, expert in a particular field. By creating a podcast, you can build an online presence to reach a wider audience than you might be able through other means. Now that's true. And these things are just things that I've researched on the internet. And these were recurring themes and recurring phrases about why people started podcasts. And if you're trying to be a thought leader, maybe you feel like, maybe you're not young, maybe you're already established, maybe you're in your mid late 20s and you're an entrepreneur. And I'm using that example because that's myself. Like I found myself doing certain businesses and business activities that came through podcasting, which I'll get into also in later videos. But if you're a thought leader of any sort, or you're some sort of guru, like a real one, not one of these crazy scammer types, and you want to start a podcast about it, I think you should. I think every business should have a podcast of some sort today. You got to remember that when you start it, with the idea of I'm going to be a thought leader, right? Or I'm going to be a guru of sorts, or I'm going to be somebody who establishes this platform as a beacon of info and, of light for people that might need all kinds of information on this particular topic. That's great. You're going to go deep. And again, going back to the riches are in the niches, you're going to be able to find success if you can really help this audience reach whatever heights you're promising that they can reach because you've done it and watched the way I did it, and I'm going to help you through it. And you can just expand on that however you want. You could be a Patrick Bet-David. You could be a Grant Cardone if he's your cup of tea, or a Gary Vee, or a Think Media. I love Think Media. You could be like Sean Cannell. YouTube rhymes with a YouTube channel, right? Like I love these people who are authorities in their particular spaces. Personally, I'm going to add a third one that isn't necessarily cited as reasons that people will start a podcast, because you don't realize that this is super important and has been beneficial until you've done it for quite a while. And that is your ability to be a better communicator. In this world of AI and in the world of not having to be around people a lot, if you can develop the skill set of being somebody that can not only talk to people, but be somebody that they want to talk to, you're going to go so much further. And the experiences you'll get through your podcast or podcasts, because you do more than one and one doesn't work out and you really kind of just want to pivot and start something else, as long as you don't quit because you still want to do it, right? As long as you still want to do it and you don't quit and you just pivot, you're going to find experiences, you're going to find money, you're going to find relationships, you're going to find things that you never would have found in this life had you not just went ahead and got started podcasting. I was going to include the cons and some of the drawbacks to this, but the video is already a little bit longer than I wanted it to be for this for an initial video on the channel. So I'll save that for a different video. And there are drawbacks, right? A lot of people think that this is going to come easy, and it's not. And the drawbacks shouldn't scare you, but they should prepare you. And I'm going to leave it with that. Guys, if you like the video, if you want to support the idea of helping a community start podcasting, my main goal isn't even to get like, I want to get a certain amount of people. I want everyone who wants to start a podcast to feel the power of learning your voice, learning who you are, learning your communication style, and just giving you the power to go out there and reach out to people on Twitter who you thought you'd never be able to talk to, but because you have a podcast about something that they know or like or that they want to share about, they'll come on your show. Or you get to collaborate and have, working relationships with people who you thought you'd never be able to reach out to. All those things are possible. I've been able to do all of those things. And now I just kind of want to talk about it. And maybe we'll get into some of the podcasts that I, co-host, produce, and am a part of now, and some of the ones that I did in the past. But, if I can leave you with anything, is that let this video be the starting point for why you start your podcast. And by the next time I upload a video, which should be very soon, you'll have that initial thought. You'll have it sketched out. You'll have your framework, and we'll be able to get started. Have a great day. What's going on, everyone? Slow it down. The mission of this podcast channel, YouTube channel about podcast, is to help you who obviously wants to start a podcast. All right.